Number one, I have to go over there several times a day to give them medicine and such. And
good morning. Looks like folks are starting to trickle in. It is just now 8, so we'll give folks a couple minutes to get here. For some people, they're probably just getting to the office. So hello to those of you who are right.
Good morning.
We'll do this. Yeah, we got some folks coming in right on time, which is good. And I hope everybody's doing well today on this Wednesday. Of course, it is the second to last working Wednesday for the 2018 year, so that's exciting. And hopefully we'll give you guys some things to do over the next month or so that you can carry forward with you into the new year. At least that is our hope and intention. Hopefully folks received the handout that we sent earlier this week, and I'll send it out again when we assign this week's homework after today's session. And I'm excited for this month's topic. When Bowden and I first brainstormed this, it was about kind of how to manage the holidays in a least stressful as way possible. And certainly we're going to talk about the holidays specifically in terms of stress, but also how we can incorporate that concept of joy and being joyful as a way to manage stress. And the focus of that being, how can we be more in line with our core values? I think probably all of us know, what are the things that we value, whether that's, family, relationships, health, all of those types of things. But sometimes those become kind of abstract concepts, and how can we define those in a meaningful way? And then more importantly, how can we make sure that the things that we do day to day are supporting our overarching values? And one of the things that Bowden and I were talking about is, we can be more stressed out or feel less joy when what we do day to day is not in support of those values, which is pretty easy. When you're, get kind of caught up in the hustle and bustle of day-to-day life, and then you turn around and realize, hey, I'm not making time for my family. I'm not making time to support my overall health. I'm not engaged with my church or my community, whatever those things are. And so this month's activities are really going to be based on how to get back in touch with and do the things that make you joyful. And in the email, Bowden and I like the distinction between happiness, which is kind of the day-to-day things, external, so activities, events, interactions, those things that kind of bring you momentary or short-term happiness, as opposed to the joy that you feel when you kind of are aware of the things that are mattering to you. And that joy is more of an internal way of being, as opposed to happiness, which is externally kind of the things day to day. And, not that we don't have bad days or sad times or stressors when we feel joy, but kind of how we can bring all of those things together in more of an internal package. So I'm going to turn it over to Bowden, who's going to talk about some of these key concepts. I think folks are continuing to trickle in, and we're going to get started with being joyful today. So I'm going to kind of swing myself around, and there's Bowden. Does that feel pretty good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Good morning. Excuse me. Get my morning voice started. It's early. Thank you. That was great. I'm not sure how much more I might add to that. Actually, you did that beautifully. And what I really want to hone in on is the notion of what's important to us. So when I think about the holidays, and happy holidays to everyone, by the way. When I think about the holidays, one of the first things that always comes to mind to me is Christmas being this time of reflection, time of asking the questions like, what really matters to me? And that the new year becomes a time of action. And again, those are just kind of my ways of how I have thought about some of those things. And for me, they often center around self-care. And there's one part of self-care, if you will, that as Rachel's saying is kind of the focus of today. And I'll call it, I'll give it a big umbrella first, which is about beliefs and attitudes that we might have, and specifically then honing in on the things that are important to us and what is valuable to us, of value to us. And, these are as important as things like our physical activity and nutrition and rest and playing and relaxing and such, these beliefs, values, attitudes that we have. And so a key question is, what is that gets you out of bed in the morning? For example, why are we all here at 8 o'clock in the morning to have this conversation? And there's something about this that is of value to us. And so you might ask, what is it that makes something be of value or be important to you? And it's just, these are the things that make our lives make sense to us and that give us a purpose for being, that yields a sense of I'm important or significant in this world. It gives us a place, if you will, and it gives I think it builds resilience because it gives a sense of commitment and a sense of control over our lives, and it gives us challenges, and it brings us closer to not only ourselves but to others as well. And it actually is really true that having today's Wednesday, so Monday when I was first really turning my attention to what I might say this morning, I found a journal article actually in the Review of General Psychology that was from just this year about the role of meaning in a healthy life. And there really are some direct associations between having purpose, having meaning in one's life, and healthy outcomes. And some of the things that they attribute that to are some of the mechanisms that they talk about in terms of how that comes to be are things like reducing stress. So, for example, if we have purpose and we're in the midst of a stressful event, then when we're able to pay attention to the bigger meaning of that, then it tends to be associated with that event being less stressful. So as I was thinking about that this morning, I thought, okay, well, for some of us, we may have end of the semester papers that we have to grade and deadlines for that. And for others, we may have, end of the calendar year deadlines that we're trying to get through before having a break for the holiday season. And it's really easy to get lost in and stressed about the details of that. And yet when, again, I'll use myself as an example, when I think about what the larger purpose for me of being in a role like I have is, it's about working with students and teaching them and nurturing them as clinicians for the future to make an impact on the better health and well-being of the larger Georgia community as well as the world, really. And so it's then easier for me to get through the grind of what otherwise could be a really stressful circumstance of having to grade papers and meet all these end of the semester kinds of deadlines. So that sense of purpose has an effect on or reduces stress. It's also another mechanism that they talked about was improved coping, that meaning may choose more effective coping strategies when faced with problems or challenges. So those people who, again, have more or a stronger, or they're going to go on to talk about a more well-defined sense of purpose, tend to take on coping strategies that are more effective in addressing whatever circumstance, problem might be going on in a given moment. And then it's also the case that having a greater sense of purpose, meaning in life, is associated with health promoting behaviors. So people that with this sense of purpose are more likely to go to see their primary care doctor on a regular basis, get an annual exam, check their cholesterol levels, keep up with the kinds of things that are important in terms of one's physical health. And so, and they talked about how people with a stronger sense of purpose have a greater propensity to simply be moving, and how important is moving to us in terms of our overall health, obviously. So they actually wanted to read something that was it's real quick, but one of the conclusions that they drew. This was a big review paper that had come out, and they proposed an idea that they called meaning salience, which I thought was really useful and helpful, and it certainly makes the point, in my view, of kind of where the next things that I want to lead us to. But meaning salience is defined as the extent to which meaning stands out or is conspicuous to individuals, i.e., the degree they are aware of what makes their lives meaningful and their sense of purpose during their daily activities. Most individuals report having a sense that life is meaningful, and perhaps most also have an underlying sense of what gives their life purpose. We suggest that individuals for whom meaning salience is more consistently present and potent are more likely to be influenced in significant ways by meaning when making decisions, interacting with the world, or engaging in behaviors. And to me, that really captured what then some of the handouts were that we sent, and also what we are hoping that everybody will engage in over the next month. So it's one thing to have this purpose and have meaning in life, but it turns out that you really have to actively remind yourself what these things are. They have to be present and potent in your life in order for them to have the kinds of benefits that we're all hoping that they might have. So with that in mind, Rachel and I sent some information Monday or yesterday to you, that the first part of which was kind of the first little handout by what's the guy's name? Bob, I'm sorry, I'm looking for it while I'm saying this and I can't lay my hand on it. Here we go. Bob Moorhead, which I just find to be so very spot on about the busyness of these days and how easy it is to lose touch with what is important to us. And so the idea then of the other two handouts was to give some structure to one, two, or you might choose to be playing with both mechanisms via which you could get clear for yourself about the things that matter to you. As Rachel was saying, we had conversation about how easy it is, and maybe it seems like to me, maybe especially at this time of the year when was it, 3 months ago that we started seeing ads on television for all the material parts of this holiday season. And that's surely easy to get caught up in, and not what really for most everyone is of value, but it's easy for what really is of meaning and value to get lost in all of that noise, if you will. And so the first was more of a narrative approach to values clarification. Excuse me, that was the heading that was at the top of that handout, and I believe it was the third page of what we sent you. And it offered, what is it, 12 different categories of domains, if you will, areas of people's lives that that might organize how you approach this. So by all means, don't feel like there's the need to address all of these. Think about which ones may stand out for you at this time, and then sit down and reflect on what is it about any one of these that's meaningful. So just to pick one, family relationships. So describe the type of a brother or sister or son or daughter or mother or father you want to be, and what are the qualities you want to have in these relationships, and how would you treat people if you were ideal in these relationships. And that sheds light on what is valuable, what's meaning to you about relationships, family relationships particularly. And I liked this one too because I felt like it was consistent with the journaling that we have just engaged in, that it was more of a free flow, get your ideas out on paper. The other was something that actually is part of I got from Herbert Benson, who's actually a cardiologist at Harvard, who I spent some time with studying mind-body medicine. And they too are aware of, and actually doing some research in the notion of how important being clear about what's important and meaningful to you is in terms of the reduction of stress in our lives and health promoting kinds of benefits. And this one I liked because it asks you to think about similar domains as in the other handout, but this one was also added a bit of the notion of time. So again, using family relationships as an example, this one would have you say, well, today, Wednesday, not Thursday, but Wednesday, what is important to you in terms of family relationships? And maybe it's to go home and be sure to love on your kids or love on your spouse, or be sure to say a kind word to them and let them know that you care about them and that you love them. And then also, what is it that is of value to you next week and a year from now, so that it's, are you attending to that value now? And what kinds of plans are you making? How can you be purposeful toward being in line with that value, again, a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now? I think if there was anything else that I had wanted to say. Yeah, and then the idea was that in January, or in the new year, with the new year again being about a cycle of renewal, and about many people utilize that time as kind of reshaping, committing to changes that they want to make in their lives, and to be clear that you could use this, what you find from this particular exercise of getting clear about what your values are, to then lay out things that you might want to accomplish, action steps, if you will, that you might want to work with when you get to the new year. And again, that was largely the purpose of putting the second handout that had some time stamps with it. And some may choose that utilizing both of these is helpful. Others may choose that one is a better fit for them. What matters is for you to think about what matters to you and begin to make some plans, and in the new year, if not sooner, take some steps toward having there be greater congruence in what you value, the purpose, the meaning that you have, and what you do on a day-to-day lived basis. And that's the gist of this.
Yep.
Okay?
That's it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was talking to Bowd and I when we were kind of brainstorming this is the a coach told me quite some time ago, if something's important, do it every day. And if it's not important, don't do it at all. And while he told it to me as part of a, exercise fitness component, I think it has a lot of carryover into all of the other things that we do. So if you say that, family is important, as Bowden said, being loving toward them, spending time, engaging with folks. So, are we doing every day the things that we find important? And if they're not important, then why are we doing them? Certainly, going to work and paying bills is important, and we have to do that. But short of that, if we feel like we don't have any time, if we're wasting time on social media or TV or things like that, if you don't find value in those things and they suck up your time, why are we doing them at all? So I think for me, this next month is a good exercise in identifying the things that I find valuable and making sure in the new year that I'm doing them every day or doing something that supports my overall values, goals, whatever they may be in the new year. So I'm looking forward to this myself. As we talked about, we're not necessarily thinking about January as being a time of resolutions, but more of a time for renewal and what are we going to put emphasis on in our 2019 year that is just right around the corner. So we will be saving this as a YouTube video, which I will post. I know, a lot more folks joined on YouTube last time. And then we'll send out the homework assignment, a little bit more specifics for what to work on this next week. And then over our break, so between kind of the next Wednesday, the 19th, and when we return, it'll be a little bit more open-ended about more reflections, more actions that you can think about taking, which I think will position us pretty well for when we get back from break and helping to solidify what we're going to work on for the new year, which can bring us a lot more internal joy and hopefully a lot more direction for the things that we spend our time with. So thank you guys for being here present this morning. And then thanks to everybody who's watching a little bit later on YouTube. And feel free to reach out with questions or feedback or anything. And then we'll look forward to the next month of reflection and activity. So have a wonderful week. And if we don't see or speak to you, have a great break and a Merry Christmas and all of that good stuff. So we will all talk to you soon. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.